So this is a video that Nate and I have been looking forward to for a long time, and it's the tour of the finished product. And I can tell you that as of this morning, it's a finished product. It's also almost a finished product from the perspective that it's in escrow, and it's supposed to close next week. And so when we get to the end of this, I'll talk to you about the sales price and a little bit about how that went down. But we're happy, we're relieved, and most of all, we are just gratified to have a chance to show you from an up close and personal perspective how this thing turned out. So come with me. We've been wrestling with how in the world do we actually film a tour that makes any sense. It gives you some context to what it's really like, the way the house is laid out. And I mean, you've been watching this thing be built, but it's really hard to get your head around how do these rooms relate to each other and what would it be like to live in this space now that it's done. And we don't really know if this is going to work or not. But we think our best shot is if I take this GoPro and just sort of point and go slow and explain to you how the space that I'm standing in, and thus that you are standing in, relates to the rest of the space and why we made some of the choices around design that we made in that space. So we don't know if it's going to work. We're rolling the dice, but it is our best idea so far. One of the things that I want to point out before we just blow by here is that your entry system is where you get your first impression of the house. I mean, you've driven up, you've got the curb appeal, but this is where you get a feel for the house. The entry, the door, the heft of the door, the way it closes, and the way the lock set feels in your hand. Now, this lock set, and every other one in the house, was given to us by Emtek. I've been selling Emtek to my clients for a long time. In fact, I first saw their display in Garrettson's probably 16 years ago, just about the time I was starting into blacksmithing, and I thought, wow, that is some quality metalwork. I may talk about that more as we go on in, but what I want you to realize is this moment right here is the moment when everybody is going to identify whether or not there's craftsmanship under the surface. So let me turn this GoPro on and sort of take a shot at videography for the first time. But before I go in here and try to give you a perspective of what it's like to walk through this house, let me show you kind of some of the details that may not have been clear through the series. I'm standing on the front porch, right? And there's my finger. So the street dead ends right there, which has been really handy during construction and video work. I think eventually that's going to be tied into some other lots up on that hill. But for right now, it's quiet and private. Got the lot across the street is being developed right now, and they've had a few soil issues last night. But in general, this is the front porch. You saw this deck be poured. You probably saw that we have 2 steps down, very manageable, and then the sidewalk, about half of it's under the overhang, goes out to the parking and the street. So once you step in, I mean, you've got 4 choices. You can either go to the right into the office, which is big enough. It includes the Ethernet cabinet that you saw Ben put in and make up, and really the first representation of the view, which looks straight over into what is going to be a neighbor's house, but also gives you, I mean, notice when someone's coming in. Back through the French doors to the entry, we have 3 choices remaining. We can either go upstairs to all the bedrooms and the utility and all of that, bathrooms up there, can go down the hall to the right with the entry closet, or, as is more likely, you'd go to the left over to the living room. Now, it doesn't take long to recognize that there's not a ton of wall space in here, because the wall space was committed to windows, because the view is the thing, right? But it definitely brings light, and it definitely brings interest, and it's not likely that people will get tired of that. But the thing that adds livability to this space is the covered patio out back. You probably watched us pour this concrete, but you step right on out and it becomes part of the same space, really, with the same view. Access to go around the house. But we'll step back in, walk through the kitchen, show you the pantries, and then take you upstairs. 2 pantries is a plus. One right here, one right there. The island is big enough for almost anything. Oh, let me hang up here at these. This is an example of the passage lock sets from Emtek. It's heavy. There's a lot of metal. And I think it's either copper or brass back there. There is zero slack, zero wobble, zero vibration. It's just tightly machined and heavy. There's a lot of material. And the pulls on the cabinets are the same thing. They have heft. Big sink, you probably saw that. Standing at the sink, you can look straight out to the grass going up the hill in the backyard. But there's lots of light, lots of space, lots of room to pass back and forth when the people are working in here. Refrigerator, turning back around, looking back over toward the living room and the view. So now we're going to turn around and continue out into the garage, which is the second, actually third way out of the downstairs. First though, there's the half bath tucked under the winders. That was the excellent idea that came on the channel from Dave Heil. I went to high school with Dave Heil and he chimed in at the right moment. Out into the garage. Plenty of space for 2 cars. On-demand water heater. Sprinkler controls. And then swinging back around before we go in, here's the access to the crawl space. You may have seen that when we were forming the foundation. This got a lot of attention then, and is sort of incidental now. All right, so we'll go on upstairs on the second set of stairs, the ones that I only had to build once, the winders. Carpet feels good on a morning like this. So at the head of the winders, you can go left into the bonus room over the garage. You can go straight ahead into the laundry. We put the laundry up here because bedrooms are where clothes are, so washer and dryer will go here. So bonus bedroom over the garage is there. We'll go in there in a second. Hallway down to the other bedrooms is there to the right. But we're going to swing back around and go into the bonus room. Lots of light, enough space, big attic storage on both sides of the room. Got a view out the back to the driveway and up the hill. And then swinging on around. Got attic space on the other side. And a small closet. So we'll jump back out to the head of the winders. We'll pause here. Winders go down. Linen closet right there. Utility back right there. So now since you have your bearings, we're going to go down the hall, come out at the head of the straight flight, between the doors into the 2 bedrooms. So we'll pause right here. And on the left is a bedroom that looks out over the street. And on the right is a bedroom that looks back up the hill. Bigger window, more light. Closets and square footage in the bedrooms are just about identical. So we come to the head of the stairs. This little balcony would be a reading nook. The kids can play here. Bookshelves looking down into the entry front door. That's the door to the master bedroom. And this is the door into the common area bathroom. Proceeding down towards the view side of the house. As soon as you step into the master, closet's on the right. Plenty of storage, plenty of light. Got a view out over the street again into the neighbor's front yard. Once the neighbors have their house built. And then looking back down the valley, you'll be able to look into this neighbor's backyard. But the view is nice. And then the last space to point out is the master bathroom. And it's probably a good time to mention that there are only like 3 parts of a house where you get a tactile connection with what's been built. The doorknobs that we've talked about, the light switches, which we haven't talked about, and the plumbing fixtures, which we're going to talk about. But those are the places where with your hands you can get a feel for the texture and how solid and how sort of attentive to detail the house is at the surface, and then you can develop your own opinions about what it's like back behind the surface. So we go back out of the bedroom to the head of the stairs and come back down to where we started at the front door. That's it. The house is done and it's in escrow. We're in escrow at $610,000. Is that a bargain? It might be. We're going to leave that for each of you to decide for yourself, but for us, it was time to sell, and we are excited to find out what comes next. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.